The clink of crystal wine glasses against bone china filled the room as our family gathered for our traditional Sunday dinner at the mansion. My simple black dress felt out of place as I adjusted it, a stark contrast to my sister Catherine's designer outfit and our mother's pearls. Heavy beside me sat my laptop bag, containing 5 years of quantum research. "We need to discuss your research funding, Victoria," Dad began, swirling his Bordeaux. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Since graduating MIT, the quantum stability algorithm I'd been developing had been my life's work. "What about it?" "The board feels it's time to cut our losses," he said, sliding a document across the mahogany table. "We're selling the research division." From behind her wine glass, Catherine smirked. "Finally. That basement lab was an embarrassment for the family name. But we're close to a breakthrough," I protested, my heart beginning to race. "The quantum stability tests are showing promising results." "Promising isn't profitable, Dad cut in. "Maxwell Industries needs certainty, not theories. I've already arranged the sale to Global Tech." Mom dabbed her lips with a napkin. "It's time to do something practical, darling. By copying other companies' innovations, Catherine's division is bringing in real revenue," I muttered. "By making money," Catherine shot back, "while you play with your equations in the dark." "Sign the transfer documents," Dad said, pushing the papers closer. "Global Tech is offering $2 million for the entire project." $2 million? I almost laughed. "Dad, the potential applications alone are worthless without proof," he interrupted, sighing. My phone buzzed in my bag. Then again and again. "Problems, dear?" Catherine sneered. With trembling fingers, I pulled out my phone. My screen was lit up by 3 messages from the patent office, all marked urgent. I opened the first one. "Quantum Stability Algorithm Patent Number 457,892 approved." The second, "Breakthrough Designation granted." The third one made my heart stop. "Initial bidding offer starting at $3.7 billion. Please advise." I looked up at Dad, who was already signing the transfer papers with his Mont Blanc pen. "It's done," he declared, finishing with a flourish. "Time to join the real world, Victoria." "Interesting timing," I said calmly, turning my phone to face them. "The patent office seems to disagree about those worthless theories." The pen clattered from Dad's hand, leaving an ink stain on the pristine white tablecloth. Catherine's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Mom's fork hit her plate with a sharp clang. 3.7, Catherine choked. "Billion," I finished. "Not million. Billion." I stood, gathering my laptop bag. "And that's just the starting bid." Dad lunged for the papers he had just signed, but I was faster. "These," I said, holding up the transfer documents, "are worthless. The patent is in my name, not Maxwell Industries. I registered it privately last week." "You can't do that," Dad sputtered. "The company funded. My personal trust fund funded it," I corrected. "The one Grandma left me. I never took a penny of company money." I smiled, remembering my grandmother's last words. "Don't let them cage your brilliance, dear." My phone buzzed again. "Excuse me," I said, reading the new message. "That's Google, raising the bid to $4 billion. Shall we discuss who's joining the real world now?" The dining room fell silent, the only sound the soft clink of Catherine's shaking wine glass against her teeth. I pulled out my tablet, displaying the quantum stability simulation that had consumed 5 years of my life. "Let me show you what you were about to sell for pocket change." The holographic display lit up the dining room, showing quantum particles dancing in perfect synchronization. Dad's face paled as he recognized the implications. "Quantum computing without decoherence," I explained, rotating the display. "Perfect stability at room temperature. Every major tech company has been trying to solve this for decades. But your reports showed inconsistent results," Catherine stammered. I laughed softly. "Those reports were carefully crafted decoys. I learned from watching you, Cat, how you steal innovations from other divisions. Did you really think I'd leave my real research vulnerable?" Mom's hands trembled as she reached for the crystal decanter. "Victoria, surely we can discuss this as a family. Like you discussed selling my life's work?" I swiped through more patent documents on my tablet. "Oh, and it's not just one patent. I filed 12. The quantum stability algorithm is just the foundation. Dad's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. 12. I listed, making him flinch with each word. Quantum computing, quantum encryption, quantum storage. Conservative estimates value the complete patent portfolio at $15 billion. But that's probably low considering the military applications. Another message lit up my phone. Speaking of military applications, I smiled. That's the Department of Defense requesting an urgent meeting. Catherine knocked over her wine glass, red liquid seeping into the white tablecloth. You played us. No, sister dear, I said. I protected myself. I stood smoothing my dress. From the family that was supposed to protect me. As CEO of Maxwell Industries, Dad reached for the transfer papers again. You might want to hold that thought, I interrupted, pulling out one final document. Remember when you made me sign those board appointment papers last month? The ones you didn't bother to read carefully. His hands froze. Turn to page 47, paragraph 3, I suggested, where it details the automatic transfer of voting shares in the event of attempted intellectual property appropriation. Mom gasped as Dad frantically flipped through the pages. I checked my watch, 12 minutes ago when you tried to force the sale of my research, I became the majority shareholder of Maxwell Industries. The sound of multiple phones buzzing filled the stunned silence. The news was breaking now. I placed my napkin on the table. I believe my first act as controlling shareholder should be calling an emergency board meeting. Dad, you'll want to prepare your retirement speech. I gathered my things, pausing at the dining room door. And Catherine? Clean out your office. Your history of corporate espionage is our first agenda item. The setting sun cast long shadows through the windows, highlighting the chaos I'd left on the dinner table. Spilled wine, scattered papers, and shattered illusions. My phone buzzed again with another bid, but I was no longer interested in selling. I had bigger plans for my quantum revolution, and this was just the beginning. The next morning, the Maxwell Industries boardroom hummed with tension. 14 board members sat rigid in their leather chairs, stealing glances between me and my father, who gripped his seat at the head of the table. This emergency meeting will come to order, the corporate secretary announced, his voice shaking slightly. On the screens behind him, the company's stock had already jumped 47% on news of the quantum patent breakthrough. Before we begin, Dad started, trying to maintain his authoritative tone, I want to address these ridiculous claims. Let's start with facts, I interrupted, taking out my tablet. Mr. Roberts, please distribute the documents. My lawyer stepped forward, handing out thick folders. As you can see, he stated, Ms. Maxwell's quantum technology patents are independently held. Furthermore, her acquisition of controlling shares is legally binding under Article 7 of the company charter. Impossible. Catherine burst out from her seat near Dad. She's never even attended a board meeting. I smiled, pulling up security footage from my laptop. Actually, I've attended every meeting for the past year. You just didn't see me. The screen showed various maintenance staff and junior assistants in the background of board meetings. Dad finally found his voice. You can't just, these people were terminated. Illegally terminated, I corrected. After they refused to let Catherine steal their research. Speaking of which, I nodded to security. Please escort my sister to her office to collect her things. The FBI's corporate fraud division would like to ask her some questions. As Catherine was let out, screaming about family loyalty, I turned back to the board. Now let's discuss the real future of Maxwell Industries. Dad, you might want to take notes. It'll be your last board meeting. Mr. Chin raised his hand. The shareholders are ecstatic. I finished, displaying the stock ticker. We're up 89% and climbing because for the first time in years, Maxwell Industries is actually innovating. I moved to the head of the table, standing where my father had lorded over the company for 2 decades. Project Phoenix isn't just about quantum computing. It's about transforming this company back into what my grandfather built. A true technology leader. Dad stood shakily. You planned this. All of it. The patents, the shares, the facility. For 5 years. I nodded. Ever since you laughed at my initial quantum proposal and gave the funding to Catherine's department instead. That day, I learned that sometimes the best way to protect innovation is to hide it from those who would steal it. My phone buzzed again. The bidding had reached 8 billion. I clicked ignore. But now, I smiled at the anxious board members. We do things in the light. Starting with a complete reorganization of the executive team. Dr. Rivera, you're our new head of innovation. Mr. Chin, I'd like you to lead the audit of Catherine's division. I looked at Dad. His face was ashen. And Dad, the retirement package details are in your folder. I suggest taking it before the SEC investigation begins. The morning sun streamed through the boardroom windows, highlighting the quantum future displayed on the screens. I had transformed from the invisible daughter to the most powerful person in the room, and I was just getting started. 1 month after the takeover, Maxwell Industries headquarters hummed with a different energy. The oppressive executive floor had been transformed into an innovation hub, with glass walls replacing closed doors and researchers freely sharing ideas. I stood in my grandfather's restored office, now mine, watching the sunrise over the city. The quantum facility's latest results scrolled across my tablet. Cancer protein mapping solved in hours instead of years. Climate models that could predict changes down to the neighborhood level. Quantum encryption that made current security look like child's play. Miss Maxwell, my assistant entered. Your mother's here, and the federal investigators need you to review Catherine's case files. I turned from the window, straightening my blazer. How's Mom looking? Different. No pearls today. I nodded. Send her in. Mom entered hesitantly, and I almost didn't recognize her. Gone were the designer suits and superior air. She wore simple business attire and carried a folder. The house is sold, she said quietly. Your father's retirement papers are signed. And Catherine? She's cooperating with the investigation. Mom sank into a chair. The evidence. It was worse than we thought. She didn't just steal innovations. She destroyed careers. Lives. I know, I replied, pulling up files on the wall screen. That's why I tracked every researcher she ruined. Many are back now, leading their own divisions. You gave them their lives back. I gave them what they earned, I said, turning to face her fully. Something this family forgot how to do. Mom opened her folder with trembling hands. I found these in your father's study, your childhood drawings, quantum equations. Even then, you were trying to show us. 4 years. And you saw what you wanted to see, I said, not unkindly. The quiet daughter, the basement scientist, the family disappointment. We were the disappointment, she whispered. Your grandfather. He would have been so proud. I walked to the wall where I'd hung my grandfather's original patents alongside my own. He knew. Before he died, he left me a letter with my trust fund. Watch out for the quiet ones, he wrote. They're usually building revolutions. My phone buzzed. Another breakthrough from the quantum lab. Cancer trials showing 98% success rates. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, I said, gathering my files. We're announcing the new medical division today. Would you like to stay? Mom looked surprised. I'm not. I don't have a position anymore. Actually, I pulled out a document. I have a proposal. Grandfather's charitable foundation needs restructuring. It should be funding young scientists, not country club memberships. Interested? Her eyes filled with tears. After everything we did. The past is past, I said firmly. The question is, what will you build now? The boardroom doors opened, and Dr. Rivera entered with the medical team, their faces shining with excitement. Another quantum breakthrough was ready to change the world. Time to start the meeting, I told Mom. Are you joining us? She stood, squaring her shoulders. Yes. It's time I learned what real innovation looks like. As we walked to the boardroom, my phone buzzed again. The stock had hit another record high. Catherine had pleaded guilty to all charges, and Dad's retirement was official. But those weren't the messages that mattered. The one that counted was from the quantum lab. Clinical trials approved. First patients ready. We're going to save lives. I smiled, thinking of my grandfather's words. The quiet ones build revolutions. And my revolution was just